Facebook, please permit me to use this music to tell my fans I have no copyright. Thank you. I have no copyright.
From the beginning of human history, Gabonian people have persistently used God's name to commit heinous atrocities all over the world. Wars become more bloody when religious sentiments are attached. Enemies see each other as abominable infidels that deserve to die. During the Nigeria-Biafra War, atrocities and war crimes were obviously committed, but the international community failed to identify or recognize the ethnic and religious implications. However, the purpose of this work is neither to apportion blames nor criticize anyone, but to preserve history and to let our younger generations who were not born during the struggle know the kind of songs used to boost the morals of the Biafran soldiers.
Black Week hos Comviq. Galaxy S23. Galaxy S.
Take my boots off when I die, oh Biafra. Take my clothing to the camp. Hallelujah, give my gun to someone else to fight for fatherland. Biafra, take my boots off when I die. Ojukubeze na la Biafra, edere ya na buri. Awolowo nwanne ya Yakubu Gowon. Biafra win the war. Amodu Kasheli machine, heavy artillery, bomb and fighter. Enye mugo wanting to get my boy we nonu. Enye mugo wanting to get. Enye mugo wanting to get my boy we nonu. Enye mugo wanting to get. Umu Biafra, unekwe kwana kagowa chuno. Ọchịchị gezira Chukwu bịa onye eze anya chọrọ ọchịchị gọwa ruo mgbe ebighị ebi. Ọchịchị gezira Chukwu bịa onye eze anya chọrọ ọchịchị gọwa ruo mgbe ebighị ebi. Abụ m onye amamihe, abụ m onye amamihe. Nne m anyị rapụkwa m ma bara onwe mami. wewera kwọchakechie ya anya omeninyo bakwerieri omeninyo bakwerieri Biafra kunye buso Nigeria maka gịnị ndị na-amaghị Chineke kere ha kọmando butere ya kọmando butere ya kọmando butere ya kọmando akwụkwọ Igbo biri ma n'oruwo Chineke ntị ọ dị mmegbu Chukwu chiba anyị akwụkwọ Igbo biri ma n'oruwo Chineke ntị ọ dị mmegbu Chukwu chiba anyị nwoke mara mma chiba anyị dị abụ ọnụ chiba anyị ọ dị mmegbu Chukwu chiba anyị.
Most of the Biafra war songs aimed derogative invectives of the Nigerian government of oligarchy, who directed the killing of innocent Biafran women and children by imposing blockade on Biafra. All human contact with the outside
Our freedom by the name of Jesus, we shall conquer. We are Biafra, fighting for our freedom by the name of Jesus, we shall conquer. Ipob Biafra, fighting for our freedom by the name of Jesus, we shall conquer. We are Biafrans, fighting for our freedom by the name of Jesus, we shall conquer. Imena Ojukwu imena Ojukwu imena aga m esoro maka ibe m lee ambush were ezigbo mmadụ si n'ụgba ndị iro imena Ojukwu imena Ojukwu imena Ojukwu imena aga m esoro maka ibe m lee ambush were ezigbo mmadụ si n'ụgba ndị iro imena Ojukwu imena nkume mgbebi ebikwe ka m soro n'ime gị nkume mgbebi ebikwe ka m soro n'ime gị Biafra na mara mma kwe ka m soro n'ime gị nkume mgbebi ebikwe ka m soro n'ime gị o mere na ọma bụ kpakpọ ma jijiji ọma rụrụ nkume mgbebi ebikwe ka m soro n'ime gị.
We all have a unique character and personality that sets us apart from the rest. And together,
Enyi Biafra la la, enyi lele, enyi Biafra la la. Chetekwa n'ọkigwe setọkwala Biafra. Chetekwa n'Enugu setọkwala Biafra. Chetekwa n'Ọnịcha setọkwala Biafra. Enyi lele, enyi. Onye mbụzọ ga-abụ onye ikpeazụ nna Chukwu ekwena onye mbụzọ ga-abụ onye ikpeazụ nna Chukwu ekwena anyị na-aga n'iru ịlaghachi azụ bụ ọnwụ anyị na-aga n'iru ịlaghachi azụ bụ ọnwụ nna agbalụmo afụfụ niile tara n'ụwa na-agbalụmo ndị iro niile gburu n'ụwa na-agbalụmo afụfụ Afufuni netara no wanabalibo. Afufuni netara no wanabalibo. My mother, don't you worry. My father, don't you worry. If I happen to die in the battlefield, never mind, we shall meet again. My mother, don't you worry. My father, don't you worry. If I happen to die in the battlefield, never mind, we shall meet again. Go and see, Ebenamume, Ojuku. Agamaga Kurojuku, Ioya Wagaro, Ikabuna Munamibo, Giwemberi. Agamaga Kurojuku, Ioya Wagaro, Ikabuna Munamibo, Giwemberi. Ebuje, 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 ebuje. Onya iborokuza ya maiteri kwambo. Onya iborokuza ya maiteri kwambo. Biafra do 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 do. Biafra do 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 do. Namamutana mubomu soja bini moya. Namamutana mubomu soja bini moya. Biafra mutana mubomu soja bini moya. Aguragu wona nu soja mo iwe iwe. Namamutana mubomu soja bini moya. Namamutana mubomu soja bini moya. Biafra mutana mubomu soja bini moya. Aguragu wona nu soja mo iwe iwe. Namamutana mubomu soja bini koya. Namamutana mubomu soja bini moya. Biafra mutana mubomu soja bini moya. Awutata soja iwe iwe. Namamutana mubomu soja bini moya. Namamutana mubomu soja bini moya. Biafra mutana mubomu soja bini moya. Aguragu wona soja iwe iwe.
The Evelyn voice of Okokondem of Radio Biafra and other sincere-hearted people all over the world vociferously vented their dislike of the killing of the Biafran children. Russian and Egyptian pilots, under the auspices of the Nigerian military junta, continued their vicious aerial attack on Biafra, dumping powerful bombs into Biafran schools, churches, markets, refugee camps, and hospitals, killing hungry and sick Biafran children. Today, we hear of Armed Forces Remembrance Day, but not even an hour is set aside to remember thousands of Biafran children who died as a result of hunger orchestrated by the blockade and as a result of bombs dropped by the fiendish Egyptian and Russian pilots fighting
of the Fulani Janjaweed. But here we must do so. But first of all, let us pray. And I will pray in the language of heaven, the oldest language on the face of this very earth. Eze onye nwe anyị na Chineke nna nke pụrụ m ihe niile, eze ndị nsọ, onye anyị na-aja mma wee na-eto wee na-agọzi aha nsọ ya mgbe niile, onye ọ bụ naanị ya nwee ike niile, onye sitere n'okwu ọnụ ya sọsọ wee kee ihe niile bụ ihe kere eke n'ụbọchị nke taa, onye ọ bụ naanị ya bụ usu niile nke ndị agha, Chineke nna nke ụmụ ogbenye, Chineke nna nke ndị Biafra, Chineke nna nke pụrụ m ihe niile, onye anyị na-aja mma, onye ndị mmụọ ozi na-efe, onye mmụọ na-erubere isi, onye mmadụ dabere n'ahụ ya, onye ọ bụ naanị ya ka ndị okenye na-atụ mkpa ọlaedo na nnasị n'ọdị nsọ. Ndị Igbo otu ga-ebighị ebi n'ihi na eboghị mmadụ eboghị mmụọ, ịbụ Chineke nna. Ọ bụ naanị gị ka anyị na-akpọ, ka anyị enweghị iche ọzọ ewezụga gị. Anyị anaghị efe arụsị. Ọ bụ aha gị ka anyị ji aba mba were n'anya isi. Ihe niile nke anyị bụ n'ụbọchị nke taa bụ site na amara gị, onye nwe anyị na Chineke nna. onweghị onye ọzọ ewezụga gị Chineke. Anyị wee na-ekele gị na-asị gị biko obi ọsọ ọsọ na ndị na-abatawa ụmụ gị n'ime ndị ekworo karịrị akarị n'ime anyị. Nna nke ebere dị ngọzi, were amara gị na ebere gị bịa ka iwe zọpụta ndị gị. Anyị wee na-arịọ gị ka iwe mee ngwa ngwa n'ihe na Fulani abatawo anyị ime. Ma ọsọ ọsọ gị onwe gị bụ eze ebube dị ngọzi ka iwe zọpụta ndị gị. Ndị niile kuniri si na ha bụ ndị iro Biafra, ndị niile ka ha rabụ ndị kuniri wee na-agba anyị mgba, ka ha rabụ ndị pụtara anụ nna nke ebere dị ngọzi si na Biafra agaghị adị, ndị dị etu agaghị adị. Onye nwe m, ihe ga-abụ nke ha. Ọgbọ aghara ga-anọ n'etiti ụtụtụ ehihie abalị, mkpụrụ obi ha agaghị enwe ezumike. Ị ga-achụghachi ha azụ n'ihere nke onwe ha. Ha niile bụ ndị kuniri wee na-akpagbu Biafra. Onye nwe m na Chineke nna, ị ga-ala ha niile n'iyi n'ihi n'okwu ibu ihe na amen. Anyị wee na-asị ma leta anyị onwe anyị nna nke ebere dị ngọzi, anyị onwe anyị bụ ụmụ gị ndị na-anya isi n'aha nsọ gị, bụ ndị na-emere ọgọ. Onye nwe m, bụ ndị na-achị iru gị mgbe niile, bụ ndị sitere n'aha ha na-abụ ụmụ ha wee na-enye ha nsọ gị otuto. Anyị onwe anyị bụ ndị nwe ezi ịhụnanya ebe nzọpụta gị nakwa emere mgbe onye na-asị na nke dị sọ na anyị ga-ebuli aha nsọ gị elu. Chineke nke igwe, anyị ga-aja gị mma. Onye kere eluigwe n'ụwa, anyị ga-akpụ isi ala nye gị. Anyị bụ ụmụ ogbenye. Onye nwe m, o nweghị ihe ọ bụla nke anyị bụ n'iru gị, n'ihi na ọ bụ anọkpa ahụ ka anyị bụ. Ofu ụbọchị anyị ga-anwụ, kama na okwu nsọ gị na-anọgide ma ruo mgbe ebighị ebi. Ihere pụrụ ime mmadụ dị ndụ na nke ebere dị ngọzi, kama ị gaghị ekwe ka ihere wee mee okwu nsọ nke gị, n'ihi na ọ bụ okwu ka iji wee kee eluigwe maka elu ụwa. Okwu nke i kwuru, nkwa nke i kwuru anyị, okwu ọgba ndụ nke i kwuru n'isi anyị eze ebube dị ngọzi ga-abịarịrị na mmezu, na Biafra ga-abịarịrị na nke ebere. Ị ga-emere anyị amara gị, n'ihi na ọ bụ naanị gị bụ onye enyemaka, naanị gị bụ onye nzọpụta. Ọ bụ naanị gị ka a na-etu Elohim Adonai El Shaddai, onye dị nsọ ma ruo mgbe ebighị ebi. Nara ekele, otuto, nsọpụrụ, ịja mma site n'ebighị ma ruo n'ebighị ebi ka a na-arịọ gị. Ise ise ise.
Hello, my wonderful Biafrans. I will say good morning, good afternoon, and, and good evening, depending on your time zone. And good night to some of us. This is Mazi Zumezu, aka Nwekwesu. Please, as I welcome you, please may you welcome others. It's very important as soon as we come in, please share and hit your like button and show some love. If Facebook kick you out, come in. We have multiple platform. Ikechukwu Umadi Ezumezu. We have Ikechukwu Ezumezu. We have my page, Mazi Ezumezu, aka Nwekwensu. Please, this page is important. We have to build the page. It's our page. It's our page. It's what we use. All nke gị ka ọ bụ, bụrụ nke m ka ọ bụ. So ka kwalite na ihe please follow me on Mazi Ezumezu, aka Nwekwensu. Also on YouTube, Ikechukwu Ezumezu. Please, let's subscribe. Nke a bụ nke anyị. Let's subscribe. Let's subscribe on it so that we will have several platforms to broadcast in case anyone is shut down. Because we are in struggle. The enemy within and enemy external, they're intensifying to see that they will bring our pages down. So, but Okike, Chukwu Okike Abiyama, say that his message must be preached. And this is what we are doing. So I encourage you, for those of you that have not subscribed, please go and subscribe. For those of you that have not followed my page, Mazi Ezumezu, aka Nwekwensu, please go and follow the page. It's very important. So as soon as you come in, I would like you to share this broadcast. This broadcast is very unique. Ezoku Chineke, because they are listening. I told you guys, I have a very small platform. I have a very small space. Any message we pass here is getting to them. Do you know, for almost how many months Facebook have caged me down? Even my followers, they continue to bring it down. In Ikechukwu, we have almost 22,000 followers. In Mazi Ikechukwu Ezumezu, we have almost 4,000, almost 5,000. No? And Mazi Ezumezu, aka Nwekwensu, and YouTube. But Facebook continue to subdue us, take away the followers, but we don't care, because what we are here for is to preach the gospel. Even is to preach the message, and the message is sinking. I'm being honest with you. The message is getting to them. Today we're going to talk about the Biafra war, Nigeria war. What caused it? What caused it? And we're going to also talk about what Mazi Nnamdi can stand for. And we're also going to clamp it with the message to Southeast governors. So this topic today is going to be very excited and very interesting. For those of you who did not know about what caused the war, about the rise of Isaac Jasper Adaka Bolu, you will hear it today. You can see some of the agents, the enemy of Biafra, they are preaching hate. They are telling the people lies, propaganda, blackmail. But I'm so happy. The video we're going to use today is from a man from Delta State. I say, may Chukwu Okike Abiama bless this man. This intellectual, may Chukwu Okike Abiama bless this man. His name is Tony Halabo. May Chukwu Okike Abiama bless this man. And we are looking more of him to come out, to speak up. Because we told you people, we are going to wake them up. We are going to use this little platform, this little space, to wake them up. All the lions, people that are afraid to speak, they will begin to speak the truth. People here don't get it, and you will know that your own brother, Igbo man, is not your enemy. Your own brother, Ijo man, is not your enemy. Your own brother, Isoko man, is not your enemy. The coastal region, we are all one. But they planted the seed of hatred to disunity by Gowon creating that 12 states, creating River State. Then comes Cross River and the rest. It's just to divide us, to create the enmity among us. As I'm so happy today, people are speaking up. People are speaking up. We told you. It all started, if you guys will remember, when we tell them what they are talking about Nzogo. It's an Igbo Q. And we came out. We came out and we bring the truth out. And the video was sinking, going from the east to the north, to the west, to the south. And people are beginning to speak up. Out of a sudden, they started talking about Isaac Jasper Bolu. And we told them the truth. Because the truth will last test of time. Only truth will last test of time. Only truth will last test of time. But lies will not last test of time. So I'm not going to waste more of your time now. Let's move in to action. I want you to get your popcorn. Get your popcorn and sit down. For those of you that have not come across the video, I want you to get your popcorn, sit down, and listen to the gospel. Listen to the gospel. The man is not an Igbo man. Alabono is from Delta. I want you to sit down and listen.
From our very wonderful analyst here, Mr. Tony Abolo. So let's begin.
Well, to be honest, sometimes we're telling this story in a very awkward way. And one, because of, again, the benefit of me being a sociologist. And one of those things you learn is the art of reviewing history and looking at how history is interpreted. Now, we sometimes look at proximate causes, but you must go to the very far back. And that is the area people don't always go into. One, go back to the constitutional conferences. When Marbello, Azikiwe, and Awolowo, we're going to back and front, Britain and here. The Clapperton, the Littleton Constitution, everything we can go in between, till we're closer to getting the independence. And of course, came the arguments, because the North was not quite ready for what we were thinking as independence. And so they said they were not ready. And so it was like the Southerners were rushing. And consequently, they didn't posturing. And one important statement which must ring through history, that's when Ahmadu Bello now kind of cautioned Awolowo and Azikiwe. You know, actually what happened was, Azikiwe was telling Ahmadu Bello, can we sink our differences so that we can move forward? Now Ahmadu Bello said, please let us understand our differences. Do you know that statement pre-1960 is still subsisting till today? And until you get some of these little vignettes, you cannot even interpret what has now led into all this agitation. Exactly. Now, move forward. Came whatever it was, independence, and even before then, there was heckling of when Ahmad Bello came to Lagos. He was being heckled in Lagos. That is like, why are you wasting our time? What the heck? And they didn't like it, and the Northerners didn't like it. It produced one of the first riots in the North. So it is not today we started riots, massacre, killing of people. It started way back before 1960. These are subliminal issues that were not resolved and cleared away. And then you moved into independence. And we only had independence. And remember too that it was even the effort by the North, the NPC, to make an inroad into the Western region. And when the...
So my people, I think I have to be interjecting here. When we play some clip, I have to say something. Let's remember what the chief said. Chief Tony said that the North are not ready for the independence. The North are not ready. When we told you guys, the North are not ready to go for the independence. It was Zeke that mounted so much pressure on them. And because of that, Zeke gave a lot his rights to them. The North are not ready. Underline that word. The North are not ready. They are not ready to go. It was Zeke that mounted a lot of pressure on them. When we told you guys that the founding fathers, they did not believe in one cause. And Ahmad Bello said to him, let us understand our differences. But Zeke doesn't want that. He wants the whites to go, and he wants Nigeria to govern themselves. They are not ready to go. And he said to them, let us understand our differences. Let's understand ourselves. Because we are not one people. We are not one people. Then look at it today. Do we have anything in common with the North? Ask yourself. Be honest to yourself. Do we have anything in common with the North? Or did Fulani have anything in common with the East, the Igbos? The answer is no. And the man said, they have started buying us even before the Civil War, even before the independence. That reminds me, 1945 riot in Jos. Our people were massacred. Our people were slaughtered. You see, this program will educate you. And only those who stand for justice will speak up. Let's continue listening.
There was an issue between Akintola, who was the premier of the Western region, and Awolowo, who was the leader of the party, whereby there was a Jos. That agitation produced the quacks that occurred in 1965 towards 1966. And it was a riot of a kind because the two people agree. And the Northerners were wanting an inroad into the West, and Akintola seemed to be their point man. And at that time, remember, there were I think it was one of the breaks. So we're now looking at Niger Delta. So there was an effort to come into the Niger Delta using bricks, and there was an effort to use Akintola to also move in. And so that division between Awolowo and Akintola exacerbated the crisis in the West till it became an agitation that proved an insurrection. What you are now even talking about today, we also had it then. And what happened? We had this famous Operation Wet Year, when they brought the northern soldiers to come and quell the riot in the West. And remember, as at that time, they were forced to bring one Majek Odumi, who was a medical doctor, who was the administrator of the whole Western region. And because of this Operation Wet Year, when they called them the soldiers, I wouldn't put any tribe to it. When they came, it was such that when you came and you wanted to wage the war, your cloth would not leave your body. That was the Operation Wet Year. It was that bad. And that culminated into all the agitation that brought the bad feelings that eventually resulted in the instability. And when there was going to be this coup, Archbishop Macarius, now late, of Cyprus, he was here. It was the Commonwealth Conference in Lagos. He was trapped during this conference. And he couldn't leave because the coup caught him. Now, we'll go to that coup. The coup occurred as a result of whatever it is. The young boys in the army were not too satisfied about the way the country was going. One of the complaints in that January 15th massacre and broadcast had to do with the 10%ers. That is, all the politicians were taking every country they ate 10% out of it. So the language was, they were, according to Adeboye, who was one of the majors, who joined Major to stage school. Now, during to wage the war, your cloth would not leave your body. That was the Operation Wet Year. It was that bad. And that culminated into all the agitation that brought the bad feelings that eventually resulted in the instability. And when there was going to be this coup, Archbishop Macarius of Cyprus, he was here. It was the Commonwealth Conference in Lagos. He was during the conference. He couldn't leave because the coup caught him. Now, we'll go to that coup. The coup occurred as a result of whatever it is. The young boys in the army were not too satisfied about the way the country was going. One of the complaints in that January 15th massacre and broadcast had to do with the 10%ers. That is, all the politicians were taking every contract they gave, they ate 10% out of it. They were against the 10%ers. They were against. So it is not today we started this agitation about the politicians dipping their hands in the public tail. It was always like that. And so when they staged the coup, remember that it was a coup, according to Adeboye, who was one of the majors, who joined Onzogu to stage this coup. Now, the story we heard, because we are not soldiers, but the story we heard, and from that, it was called I've forgotten the title of the book, the Five Majors. That was what Adeboye wrote. And it was trying to tell the story that it was like a nationalistic movement. Remember that time, because of this fracas between Akintola and Awolowo, Awolowo was imprisoned. And part of the story is that they wanted Awolowo freed in order to come and take up some role in government. And so that was part of the reason they adduced. Then you had the reason of the 10%ers. But now came the way the coup occurred. Nwafo Rizu, who was the Senate president, was the acting president. Azikiwe took off for whatever reason, whether for health reasons.
So my people listening, remember what that man said, that the young soldiers are not satisfied the way the country was running. That the politicians take 10% out of their contract. Any contract awarded to them, they are taking 10%, and they are not happy. And they are not happy. And the queue was not Igbo queue. And the man that he was referring to is a Yoruba man. The man used the word nationalistic movement. But guess what? The people, they are turning to be against Target Igbo queue, helped by Britain government. Let's continue listening to this man because there's a lot Tony said. Let's continue listening to him.
Or whatever, he was in the Caribbean. And then Wafurizu became the acting president. Then when they staged the coup, the highest person was Agui Ironsi. Now, whether you like it or not, we must go back to the class structure of the 60s. As at that time, it's not what you are now looking at now. The Igbos were more dominant in terms of wealth, in terms of education. Who was the vice chancellor of Ibadan? Professor Kanodike, a historian.
Wow. We believe the Yorubas, the West, they were more educated.
No. Well, they have their own story. But then, Eni Njoku, who was a biologist, was the vice chancellor of Lagos. Right? People like Ikejiani, who was the minister for transport, was an Igbo man. So in terms of structure, then in the army, who were those who were more in the ranking of officers? They were Igbos. So you see, in terms of structure, they were already there. And it was this coup that now upturned too many things, no matter how you want to look at your history. Those are facts of history. Now came the fact that when the coup occurred, a man from the Delta.
Sorry, I have to say something here, please. It's very important I say something here. It's very important. It's very important I say something. You know, as you can see, the lady interview Tony was so amazed when Tony said to him that Igbos were all over and they were more in it. They went to school more than Yorubas, and the lady was so surprised. So he was amazed when we told you people that before 96, before the Biafra War, Igbos, call it in education system, they are there. In government levels, they are there. Igbo are so much educated. They went to school. And everything, any position they are, is on merit. Any position they acquired is on merit. You can hear it from Chief Tony telling you, Tony is not an Igbo man. And the lady was so amazed because the lady said they were taught that Yorubas are more in education, went to school than Igbos. The man said, no. What you see today that Igbos are in business is as a result of the Biafra War. We were given 20 pounds. They gave us 20 pounds. Whatever amount of money you have in bank, Nigeria government gave our fathers 20 pounds. But what happened today? Tell me what happened. Out of every rich man you see today, the foundation is 20 pounds. And the man is telling you, then the first chancellor of University of Ibadan is an Igbo man. And he mentioned names. They were there on merit. They were there on merit. Now we come because of what happened yesterday. You guys turned history upside down. But we are here to debunk you guys. step by step. Step by step. Let's continue listening to the man.
Coach Ebo was killed. Omimi Ejo. Again, he was a man for finance, and of course, he was looked upon as not too clean. Then, of course, Balewa, who was a soft-spoken man, was the prime minister. He was killed. Because it's not today when you want to look at how the Northerners play the game. There was definitely a collusion about power grab in that time. And so he was killed. Ahmadu Bello was killed. And I'm told that it was Nzogu who moved in. And because when Nzogu had finished killing him, in front, I think, of his wife, according to the story, he had to break the glass. Because one of the earliest pictures we saw of Nzogu after the coup was a handband, which showed that he was injured as he broke the glass and jumped down. So, but it was said that by then they had created Midwest. Who was to have been killed here? Osaribe, who was the premier of Midwest. Okpara was the premier of the East. Okpara was not killed. Osaribe not killed. Then, over the months, it became like, was it an Igbo-induced coup? Because who was on top? It's Aguiyi. And it is said that the constitutional lawyer, Professor Nwabueze, was the one who helped to draft the unitary constitution that Aguiyi implemented. But the question when you read history, because people sometimes trying to make judgments, was it done in the name of wanting to capture power, or it was to save the country? Because as at that time, the country was not united. And remember that we're using the Westminster Constitution. And it was felt as at that time that we're not uniting. And therefore, the only way you can harmonize the country into one whole, call it national cohesion, using constitutional method, was to have this constitution, which is called the Unification Decree, promulgated by Aguiyi. Now, it is said that infuriated the Northerners. And the Northerners, after all this killing, thinking or saying that a lot of their top soldiers, people like Pam, one of the top brigadiers of the Northerners, was killed, and some Northern officers. So they now felt this unification, they were not for it. They would rather break off. And the chant then was Araba. Araba means divide. That's the Hausa word for divide. So let's divide, let's divide. That was the cry. Then, so after the killing, then for 2 or 3 days, there was no government in place in Nigeria. January 15, 16, 17 of 19.
So, my people, do you understand what Chief Stoney said? That the unification, destroying the regional government, was as a result to unite Nigeria. We have suffered. You want to save others, and you end up destroying yourself. This is what happened. It's as a result to unite Nigeria, because Aguiyi now understood that the country are not united, and that was after the January coup. And Aguiyi said, okay, they have to stop the regional government and to unite Nigeria under one umbrella. But if you ask me, I'm still seeing the hands of British government in it. If you ask me, I repeat, I'm still seeing the hands of British government working just because of oil, this oil. But the people have an open heart to unite the country, to heal the wound. But you will see someone today, just because he have a smartphone, he can able to stand before the laptop or whatever device you're using to tell you that Igbo man destroy the regional government just to grab power. Just to grab power. But all that they did then was to unite the country. After all, even when they were in regional government, the East was doing fantastically well. The East was doing fantastically well. The economy is the highest growing economy in the whole Africa, in the world. It was the economy was growing so rapidly. Igbos were on the various offices on merit. So, what power do you want to grab? Immediately, the soldiers are there. So, what power do you want to grab? But what they want to do is just to unite the country. But they end up shut their foot, destroying themselves. The good things they have for Nigeria, they turn it to be hate to them. Today, what is happening in Lagos? You can see the property, the demolition of Igbo property in Lagos. What is happening in our land? You can see the divide and rule in our land. You can see the divide and rule in our land. You can see the divide and rule in our land. Because Igbo man wanted the country to be one. And after the coup, the North were shouting, Araba, Araba, secession, secession. They want to break out. I don't know why. If men were gods, they could have understand the situation their children will be today. They could have allowed these people to go. They could have allowed these people to do what? To go. These killings, this fire and everywhere will not be today. But let's continue this. You will learn a lot from this man today.
Um, 66, there was no government. Remember that they had taken over the commission and handed, that is, Nwafọ formally handed power to Agüiyi. So the power was with the military. The head of state had been killed. So there was no party in place. The next most senior person was Brigadier Ogundikpe. But when the July thing happened, during that reprisal, they killed Ironsi. Ogundikpe had to run into a seaboat to go and hide. And remember, as at that time, there was the issue of order and superiority in the army. Never mind what has happened over the years. Over the years, we've destroyed our seniority. So, since Ogundikpe was the man in charge, when they were now looking for who to give direction, people said Ogundikpe. But Ogundikpe was not to be found. Therefore,
my people, I'm sorry. I think I have to change my network. This network is not stable. So let me see what I can do to see if we will get better. This network is not stable. The weather is not that good. But let's see if we can switch to another one to get it more okay. Okay, my people, let's see if this network, if this one is okay. No, because the weather is not good anymore here. So let's check out if this is okay. This is very
Wonderful analyst, yeah, Mr. Tony.
Remember that time, because of this fracas between Akintola and Awolowo was imprisoned. Part of the story is that they wanted Awolowo freed in order to come and take up some role he adduced. Then you are the reason of the 10%. But now came the way the coup occurred. Was the acting president. Azikiwe took off for whatever reason, whether for health reason or whatever. He was in the Caribbean. And then Nwafu Orizu became the acting president. Then when they staged the coup, the highest person was Agui Ironsi. Now, whether you like it or not, we must go back to the class structure of the 60s. As at that time, it's not what you are now looking at now. The Igbos were more dominant in terms of wealth, in terms of education. Who was the vice chancellor of Ibadan? Professor Kanodike, a historian.
Wow. We believe the Yorubas, the West, they were more educated.
No. Well, they have their own story. But then, Eni Njoku, who was a biologist, was the vice chancellor of Lagos. Right? People like Ike Giani, who was the minister for transport, was an Igbo man. So in terms of structure, then in the army, who were those who were more in the ranking of officers? They were Igbos. So it's in terms of structure, they were already there. And it was this coup that now upturned too many things, no matter how you want to look at your history. Those are facts of history. Now came the fact that when the coup occurred, our man from the Delta, Kochebo, was killed. Omimiejo. Again, he was a man for finance, and of course, he was looked upon as not too clean. Then, of course, Balewa, who was a soft-spoken man, was the prime minister. He was killed. And, of course, either for his softness or colluding. Because it's not today when you want to look at how the Northerners play the game. There was definitely a collusion about power grab in that time. And so he was killed. Ahmadu Bello was killed. And I'm told that it was Nzogu who moved in. And because when Nzogu had finished killing him, in front, I think, of his wife, according to the story, he had to break the glass. Because one of the earliest pictures we saw of Nzogu after the coup was a handband, which showed that he was injured as he broke the glass and jumped down. So, but it was said that by then they had created Midwest. Who was to have been killed here? Osaribe, who was the premier of Midwest. Okpara was the premier of the East. Okpara was not killed. Osaribe not killed. Then over the months, it became like, was it an Igbo-induced coup? Because who was on top? It's Agui Ironsi. And it is said that the constitutional lawyer, Professor Nwabueze, was the one who helped to draft the unitary constitution that Agui Ironsi implemented. But the question when you read history, because people sometimes tend to make judgments, was it done in the name of wanting to capture power, or it was to save the country? Because as at that time, the country was not united. And remember that we're using the Westminster Constitution. And it was felt as at that time that we're not uniting. And therefore, the only way you can harmonize the using constitutional method was to have this constitution, which is called the Unification Decree, promulgated by Aguironsi. Now, it is said that infuriated the Northerners. And the Northerners, after all this killing, thinking or saying that a lot of their top soldiers, people like Pam, one of the top brigadiers of the Northerners, was killed, and some Northern officers. So they now felt this unification, they were not for it. They would rather break off. And the chant then was Araba. Araba means divide. That's the Hausa word for divide. So let's divide, let's divide. That was the cry. Then, so after the killing, then for 2 or 3 days, there was no government in place in Nigeria. January 15, 16, 17 of 1966, there was no government. Remember that they had taken over the commission and handed, that is, Nwafọ formally handed power to Aguiyi-Ironsi. So the power was with the military. The head of state had been killed. So there was no party in place. The next most senior person was Brigadier Ogundikpe. But when the July thing happened, during that reprisal, when they killed Ironsi, Ogundikpe had to run into a seaboat to go and hide. And remember, as at that time, there was the issue of order and superiority in the army. Never mind what has happened over the years. Over the years, we've destroyed our seniority. So, since Ogundikpe was the man in charge, when they were now looking for who to give direction, people said Ogundikpe. But Ogundikpe was not to be found. Therefore, who will give command? And in the army and the structure then, the most senior man gives command. And of course, as at that time, the Northerners had, after that coup of July, decided that it was Lieutenant Colonel Gowon. And as at that time, what was his age? What was the age of Ojukwu? What was the level of education? Remember that apart from military training and secondary school, that was all that Gowon had. Ojukwu was already a graduate from Oxford, a degree from Oxford. Then he had also gone through Sandhurst, which are some of the elite military schools. He had gone through all that. So Ojukwu insisted, let's take command from the most superior person. So it's like, I wouldn't take command from another little boy like myself. So there was, call it an ego and age thing as at that time. So now I'm taking you back into history, because sometimes people look at these things and they rush it, and just once you just dismiss it with a wave, it's either Yoruba, it's either North, is this. There were little things that were happening, and all of this aggravated the situation. So it was in the midst of neither going forward nor coming back.
Hope you guys are hearing it now. Ojukwu said, no, we must take command from our superior, who is a Yoruba man. Ojukwu was fighting for Yoruba to take the seat. But the same Ojukwu, they backstab. The same Igbo man that tried all those things, that they backstab. Ojukwu said, no. We are just like my junior ranking. After all, I went to higher institution. I'm a graduate. No? But let's take the command from our superior. Nigeria being an evil name, backed by British. All those things were backed up by British government. They are the one manipulating all those things. Let's continue listening.
We now decided that they now had to hold, call it the military group, with Adeba Adenka, who was the administrator for Western region. Ojukwu was in the east. Ejo was here in the Midwest. Hassan was the military administrator, or, well, military governor, or whatever you want to call him, in the north. They came to Benin City. Benin City became the place that was the part of the history of trying to resolve the crisis of Nigeria in 1966.
Amazing. Benin City. Amazing.
And it was, look, they were there for a day or two at nightfall. That's when they held the meeting. Then the meeting, of course, you know how people raised temper, blood had been shed, anger had been in the land, and how do you resolve it? When it couldn't finally be resolved at the meetings in nightfall, they decided, through the instrumentality of General Afrifa, who was the head of state of Ghana. Now he said, you come to Ghana, a neutral place, and let's now all of us discuss. And so they went Aburi. And so when they went to Aburi for a conference to choose, what now happened? Believe it or not, and what I'm going to say is quite crucial to this storytelling, and which is that the position of Midwest, and Naura was one of those who also brought in idea. Then Omo Erediawa was a permanent secretary. Then I think he was in the cabinet office. So these are people who also played some roles. Now, the position of Enahoro and the position of Midwest was a confederation. But that was not a position that was quite agreed. But by and large, they wanted to really move to a confederation where everybody can be by yourself rather than this close-up that we are in. The unification as a way to modify that unification decree of Aguironsi. That was when all this talk about a different kind of constitution. And remember, also use the Western model. Because you also have to put it in apropos to when Murtala Mohammed finally came, we now decided that, look, the parliamentary system has failed us. Why don't we now go to a presidential system? This is what led to this presidential system. Not that it just happened from the blues. It was the way we were now running ourselves. But then we're going back again to where we were and headed to Aburi. At that Aburi conference, which occurred maybe for a day or two, everybody agreed on this kind of, call it, loose federation. But there was an agreement, seemingly more tilting towards a confederation. And of all the people who went there, it was Ojukwu who had a secret recorder, which of course we in the media normally use. So he recorded the entire conference deliberations in Aburi. And that by the time they came, and it looks as if the North was now going to lose the power that they have finally gotten through military arms and military force. Apparently, as it was said, the British government or the British High Commissioner advised them, because the Northerners were more keen on breaking away. They said, no, that will not be in your interest.
Hello, my people. I think I cannot continue this program because the network is so bad, because the weather here is so bad too. I have tried to use other network. It's not okay. And this program, I want people to understand it. So on this note, we will call it a day. Maybe tomorrow afternoon, yeah? Maybe we can take on this program again because the network is so bad. It's not going. So we need people to understand this program. Perfect. So on this note, I will say good night. It's so annoying, but we must continue to push. So tomorrow we have to continue this program. It's very important.